Hello everybody. Welcome back to another session on Python programming. In the last session, we had looked into two very important functions. One was input and one was print. And I had given you a small assignment. How many of you solved the assignment? Please raise your hand. All those who had solved the assignment, please raise your hand. Prithviraj, can you share your file? Others haven't solved it. It was a simple, straightforward question that was given. Don't look down upon any question. ये बहुत आसान है. ये मेरे level का नहीं है. Don't do that. There are reasons why I asked you to solve those assignments. Even if it's simple, you should have solved them. Yes, can you share, Prithviraj, if you have solved it?
Yes, I'm sharing. 1 second.
हर्ष, कौस्तुभ, राहुल, मोनिका, क्यों नहीं सॉल्व किया?
सॉरी सर, वो भूल गया सर।
सर मैं भी भूल गया।
सर मेरी एग्जाम थी इसलिए नहीं किया, बट आज करती हूँ।
चलेगा। So let's see what Prithviraj has done for this particular program. How has he solved? So let's open up and see the code. We'll have a look at the code. So it's not just the correctness of the code that will matter. It's about how has he written the code that will also be very, very important. So let's open up that particular file and let's say edit, open with Notepad++. It says N1 input enter the first number. Number could be Prithviraj, any number. Somebody can enter a number in a complex form as well, correct? Complex number as well. So let's say integer. Since the question is talking about integer, so let's say please enter the first integer. Then please enter the second integer. And then sum is equal to n1 plus n2. The sum of the two integers is sum. And that looks perfect. So let's run this particular code and see. So we go on to command prompt. And we start with Windows prompt. We start with Python. Let's go to that location. I have stored that file somewhere. Where have I stored that file? CD. File. Process. No, we don't need to worry about it. We don't have to start with Python. We want to directly run the code. We have this file over here called as addition.py. So to test, I'll say Python addition.py. It says please enter the first integer. I enter 23. Enter the second integer. I enter 56. It says sum of two integers is 71. That's perfect. Instead of printing the message sum of two integers is 79, what you could have also done, Prithviraj, because operators are more easy to understand. So you could just say n1, comma, plus, comma, n2, comma, equal to. Awesome. That's the way you could have written. Let's see how it appears. I enter the first number is 34, second is 78. It says 34 plus 70 is equal to 112. And that's much more easy and to understand than reading this entire statement. Some of the two integers, concept of integer, queued out correct with 31, 7, 7. So I could just reduce the spaces even further to make it appear even better. If I run this particular code, I enter 45, second is 60, which is 45 plus 60 is equal to 105. So that's how you could have gone ahead. So that was a good attempt. Others should have also solved it. Important thing is using this function int. Had I not used this particular function int, then it would have become 45 plus 60 is 4560. So I don't want 4560. I wanted that to be converted to an integer. Input function returns you string. Int function converts string to an integer is what we had seen. So that was during the last session what we had seen. Any question regarding this example that we have just now saw? Any questions, anybody?
No, sir.
Okay. And Rahul has also solved it. So let's have a look at Rahul's solution. What has he done? So this is Rahul's solution. Let me open up this solution. Rahul, you did not write a script. You wrote it on the prompt, it looks like, correct?
Yes, sir.
नहीं, हमें
Actually, I have
स्क्रिप्ट चाहिए, स्क्रिप्ट चाहिए. आपने यहाँ फ्लोट यूज किया, दैट्स ओके, बट आपने स्क्रिप्ट लिखना था, आपने अलग अलग स्टेटमेंट फायर किए. करेक्ट? व्हेन आई सी दिस सिंबल दैट मींस इट्स अ on the prompt you have typed the thing, correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so that was not expected. It was expected that you solve it on, and it was about integer. It was not about real numbers. It was about integer. It was not about real numbers. So it should have been integer. Okay. So today what we are going to do is, last time we made use of the IDLE, or even today we'll make use of IDLE. We'll stick to IDLE for some time now. And once you are comfortable with the IDLE, then we will explore the other aspects as well. That means I plan to start with Jupyter Notebook for you actually. So even before I go to Jupyter Notebook, let's jump onto Jupyter Notebook. We'll come back to IDLE again. So today what we plan to discuss is the data types. And we'll try and quickly cover up the data types today. And I'll give examples as we go ahead. So what we plan to cover up today is number types. So Python's built-in core data types are in some cases also called as object types. So mark this word object. You will like it or you do not like it. You're going to come across this term every now and then, a term called as object. There are 4 built-in data types for numbers. So even when we just talk about numbers, there are 4 built-in data types that Python provides: integer, long integers, which was present in Python 2, no longer supported in Python 3. We have floating point numbers and complex. And subtype of integer is Boolean type. So we have integer, Boolean, floating point, and complex. Long integers are no longer supported. Today, integer itself are very, very long. So numbers are mainly of 2 types, integers and floats. So what's the difference between integer and float? Integer is 2, just as we write the whole number. But if you talk about floating numbers like 3.23, that's in fixed format. Or in scientific format, when I say 52.3 e minus 4, that means 52.3 into 10 to the power minus 4. That's scientific way of expression. So the e stands for 10 to the power. Keep that thing in mind. E stands for 10 to the power. E notation indicates power of 10. So if I write a statement 52.3 e minus 4, it means 52.3 into 10 to the power minus 4. It could, if minus ki jagah plus hota, so in that case, this number into 10 to the power plus 4 and so on. That's how you could have represented. So when you talk about floating point, you'll always have this dot, you'll have this e optionally, whether it's in fixed format or whether it's in exponential format. We will not have this decimal point when you talk about integers. They are like whole numbers. So when you talk about numbers, we can carry out various operations on the numbers. We can carry out operation like raise to, exponent, power, 5 star 2, that means 5 to the power 2, that's 25. If I put 1 star, that's multiplication. 5 into 2, 2 into 3 will be 6. Division, we had 2 types of division. One is the regular division, where we will get the answer in fractions. Other is integer division, where only the quotient will be displayed, the remainder will not be. Like 2.666, the repeating digits will all be repeated, you left out. If I take mod, it will give you the remainder. 14 mod 3 will give you 2. Here's 12. 3 4 are 12, remainder is 2. Addition and subtraction is what we know. So let's have a look at these expressions once again before we move on to the next topic. So let's do one thing. Let's start with IDLE. So I'll say IDLE and 3.11 IDLE. What I'll start. I could write the expression here, or if I want to share the file with you, I can go to file, I can say new file, I can save that file so that I can share it at the end of the session with you all. What I'll do is I'll save it. I'll say file, save. तो कहाँ सेव करेंगे अपने यहाँ नहीं सेव करेंगे सेव इट इन C colon process post continuum Python. I'll call this as calculating math arithmetic.py ऐसा कोई एक फाइल बना दिया. Let's carry out those operations. I have two variables. One is n1 whose value is 10, other is n2 whose value is 20 suppose. And we want to carry out some operations. So I say print, I say n1 plus. Now this plus is not an operator, it's an operator, but I just want to display plus. So I say plus, comma, n2, comma. Then I want to put equal to sign. I say equal to, comma. Here I put an expression n1 plus n2. Say I have saved this particular file. So to save this file, I can go to file and save or control S, and I have to run it. I can just press F5. Okay, if I take a bracket missing in, so on this line brackets are missing. So let me put a closing bracket. Let's also look at option. It says configure IDLE. Here there are some options which are there. It says what is the font, how you would like to highlight, what are things, how much should be width, how much should be the height, all those things have been given. Indentation कितना चाहिए, 4 spaces का indentation चाहिए क्या, shell auto sequence minimum limit 30 start, at start of run F5. So if I press F5, it will save and then it will run that particular code. And which extension है क्या, I have not added any extension. So these are various options that we have. So as I apply, we come out, I press F5. It says, do you want to save it? I say yes, save it. So you get that 10 plus 20 is equal to 30. So we are happy with that result. Let's add one more statement to this particular script. Now, if these are two values, we'll just use the same thing, and I'll just go on changing the operators. I'll say n1 minus n2 is equal to n1 minus n2. And then we say Control S and I press F5. It says 10 minus 20 is minus 10. That's perfect. That's correctly being displayed. If I had changed the sequence, then the story would have been different. If I said n2 minus n1 is equal to n2 minus n1. So I save it and I run it. Because the n2 minus n1 is 10 and so on. So it's working, right? Let's also look at some other reason. Suppose I have base as 4 and I have power as 2. Right? I have base as 4 and power as 2. Or even before we go to base and power, let's finish with addition and multiplication, suppose. So if I have to proceed further, here I could say n1 into n2 is equal to n1 into n2. Next, what I could have done is I could have gone ahead with other operation. N1 divided by n2 is equal to n1 divided by n2. Now, this could be interesting because there are two different types of division that we have. One is integer division, the first one, and this is the real division. And so I like to use 2 slash. So I save this file and I run this particular code. Look at this, while 10 minus 20 is minus 10, 20 minus 10 is 10, 20 into 10 is 200, 20 divided by 10 divided by 20 is 0.05, but 10 divided by 20 is just 2, just 0. Why? Because it's integer division and the fraction part is not being displayed. To understand this even further, what we could have done is, we could have just change the value of n1 and n2 slightly. I could say n1 is equal to 7, n2 is equal to 3, okay. And then I would have performed this particular operations. I could have then performed this particular operations. So let's do it and see. If I say run and I run the module, it says 7 divided by 3. Look at the result that has now been displayed. Here. Look at the result. 7 divided by 3, 2.333335, repeating. Whereas 2 divided by 3 is only 2. So that fractional part has not been displayed. After decimal, whatever is there, that has not been displayed. So integer division, real division. There are two operators which are there. Now let's go to this base and power. So we have this 2 and 4 as the two values. So I would like to know 4 to the power 2 kitna aayega. So I could just say, instead of n1, I could just say base to the power raised to 2 star power is equal to, I can just say base star. While writing the expressions, always recommended that you leave some space between the operators. So it just makes the statements easy to read. So here also I could just say N1 base, N2 base. It's just a good way of representing the statement. So there is no confusion in my mind as to what all operations are really happening. Okay. So you could run it everywhere. At least before and after the operator, you could leave some space, if not anywhere else. All this thing is done just to make the code more readable, nothing else. There you go. Let's save this file and I run this program. This is 4 to the power 2 is 16. Okay. So we have seen all the operators that were listed over. All the operators that were listed over here is what we have seen. Okay. And what did you do for that? We have written a script. We have written a script. So that's a small script that we have written. I'll just share this script quickly with you because we will not be referring to this script anymore, where we are exploring various operators, common arithmetic operators. So I want to give a comment. I can just say hash. So common arithmetic operators in Python. In what way? Control S to save. So that's the file which I'll quickly share with you all. Let me know if you have received that particular file. Rather, these files will now henceforth be published on the site as well. So you don't really have to worry about it. But just to begin with, and for a few days, I'll share this file as well. So there are two files. One, the program that I have written, and another was my arithmetic. So I'll just share these two files with all of you. I hope all of you have received it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now let's proceed with our further discussion. Now that we have seen these basic operators, let's talk about how various types of values can be represented. So when we talk about integers, I said 2 is a whole number. So 5 is a whole number, 55 is a whole number, 57 is a whole number, and so on. So I would like to represent them in different formats. How is it possible? So when we talk about integers, the normal base is 8 for integers. So when I say 4321, that's number 4321, nothing else. But I could represent it with base 8 as well. Then an octal format of representation of integers. So when we use octal format for representation of integers, it should always prefix with 0O. Okay, 0 and a lowercase o or uppercase o. Like this O can be lowercase or uppercase, but it's 0O. So that is a prefix that we have to use while you represent any octal value. If I say A is equal to 0O10, that's nothing but decimal format mein 8. So 10 is decimal format mein, 8 is octal format. Likewise, we can also represent the number in hexadecimal format by prefixing it with 0x. Either the x can be small or it can be large, capital. I say OA or 0x AOF. So what AOF is standing for 2575 and so on. So that value could have been displayed. We also have an option of using 2 as the binary literal as the base. So in that case, we have to prefix with 0B for binary literal, and it can very well go into the binary format as well. Let's have a look at different forms of representation of integers. So again, what we'll do is we'll quickly go ahead with our script. So we'll write one more script for this. So I say new file. I'll say file save. I will go to the same location. I'll call this particular file as integer representation. Integer representation. So now we are going to look at various ways in which we can go ahead representing integers. Let's begin. I have a number n1. Yeah, some number called as num, whose value is 100. So 100 is in decimal format. I want to print that number in decimal format. I'll just write print. I'll say print. So let us just explain what format it is being displayed. So if I have to display the value of the variable in decimal format, you just don't have to do anything. You can just say num. So that will display the value in decimal format. Okay, that will display the value in decimal format. Let's save this file. Let's run this file. Decimal format is 100. Okay, that's perfect. I could have just said value in decimal format is 100. Value in decimal format is 7. Now the same value num. Okay, or I could take 100 in decimal format. And let's say value kya hai to 100. So I'll say value 100 in decimal format. Value 100 in decimal format. Let's say we are as 100. So that's value 100 in decimal format. So let's run this particular code. If I just say F5, it says value 100 in decimal format, 100 here. But I wanted to display the same value in octal format. Okay, so I need to know the octal format of 100, representation of 100. Okay, so I will say octal. So octal में 100 क्या आएगा? In octal 100 could be 0, 4, 1, 44. That's 100 value, nothing else. Okay, and I'll show you the proof of that. How do I plan to show you the proof? Let me do one thing. Here I'll say N1 is equal to 100. And here I'll display the value N1. Watch it, what I'm doing. N2 is equal to 0, 4, 1, 44. So here I'm displaying N2. That's in octal format. So likewise, I take N3 that I display in hexadecimal format and one in binary format. So I'll take one as hexadecimal format, other in binary format. So hexadecimal में this could be 0x64, and in binary it could be 0b 110 Let's see. 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64. 1, 2, 8. 32 plus 64 is how much? 32 plus 64 कितना हो गया?
90.
Louder?
96.
90?
6.
96. तो ये 1, 2 and 4 plus 100. तो ये काम बन जाएगा. तो ये हो गया N2, ये आ गया N3, ये आ गया N4. तो मैंने अलग अलग नंबरिंग सिस्टम में आई हैव रिप्रेजेंटेड द सेम वैल्यू. तो यहाँ मैंने कहा N3 चाहिए और यहाँ मैंने कहा N4 चाहिए. So we are now displaying the same number in different formats at different places. I just match just that it becomes more readable. तो आपने ये 4 वैल्यूज दिए हैं, एक डेसिमल में है, ये बाइनरी में है, एक ऑक्टल में है और ये ऐसे. So we have these 4 values. Let's run the code and see. कहता है value 100 in decimal format, अरे octal format, decimal format, binary format, and it is displaying the same value. That means although I have represented this particular number in different formats, it's the same number. Okay, what has got displayed is just the same number, 100. तो अगर आपने ऐसा भी लिखा तो भी 100 ही डिस्प्ले कर रहा है, आपने ऐसे लिखा तो भी 100 ही डिस्प्ले कर रहा है, आपने ऐसे लिखा तो भी 100 ही डिस्प्ले कर रहा है. It's still displaying the number 100. Point is that means this is also 100, this is also 100, this is also 100. All those things are 100. So I'm now going to add those 4 values. I'm going to say print. Okay, N1 plus N2 plus N3 plus N4. Or let's do it in a different way. I'm going to say 100. That's the first value that I want to add. Watch it, 100 plus. Okay, the second value that I plan to add is 0, 4. I'll put them into quotes for a moment. I'll also show you how to represent it. अगर डिस्प्ले करना है तो कैसे करेंगे. Plus 0x64 plus ये आपका नंबर. These are all in string format. And here I say, comma, I plan to add those values. ये सारे numbers मैं add करना चाहता हूँ. Here I'm going to write an expression. Then I'm going to add those numbers. ये quotes वगैरह हटा देते हैं सारे. I'm just going to add them. This plus this plus this plus this plus this plus this and so on. The point is they can actually number अलग-अलग representation format रहे, but it's the same number 100. It's actually the same number 100. The number 100 ही है. We just want to display here. We are saying a 100 in decimal है, octal है, hexadecimal है, binary है. So let's see what result do we get. What result do we get? If I run this particular code, it says so there should have been space in between. So I could have just added a space in between. Now space तो आ जाना चाहिए था. Why did the space not appear? Okay, it went ahead doing string concatenation.
String
So
code.
yeah, it went ahead doing the string concatenation. I should rather say plus inputs. Rather, I should remove all this space and just say plus. That will do work for us. अब देखते हैं. If I run this particular code once again, it will display in a better way. It says 100 plus 0144 plus 0864 plus this is equal to 400. यहाँ मुझे डालना चाहिए is equal to. तो अब रन करते हैं. So it says oh, all these numbers are nothing but 100. यानी इसमें कोई all number नहीं था. All of them were representing value 100. यानी सब मिला के 100 ही था और कुछ नहीं था. I'll just match the spaces. It's just more readable. Okay. So point is you can represent your number in decimal format. Decimal format. You can represent your integer in octal format. It's the same number. It's just like how are you representing that particular number? Okay. And this was the octal format. You could represent your number in hexadecimal format. Or you could represent your number in binary format. This binary format was not supported for a very long time. But later we have a support for it, but it doesn't matter for us now. Today, hey, aaj ye support hai. So it's the same number 100, which was represented in different numbering system. Different numbering system, hexa, octa, binary, and so on. So 4 different formats, they are represented the same number. We saw it was the same value that was getting displayed as 100. And just to overcome, we understood this. But अगर मुझे print भी करना है वो अलग-अलग format, here it is displaying it as 100. I just also want to print them in various format. Is that possible? Let's quickly check it out. Is that possible for us to do it? That means when I display this number, it should display it in hexadecimal, octal, ऐसे format में ही display करना चाहिए. So we have this number n1, we have this number n2, we have this n3, and we have this binary. It should display it in binary. So decimal है तो directly आ जाएगा. Octal है. Can I say OCT to get octal format? Let's check it out. Can I say hex to get the hex format? Let's check it out. Can I say bin to get the binary format? Let's check it out. So I'm now going to use functions like octal, hexadecimal, bin. So it's the same number 100, n1, n2, n3, n4. Okay. Yeah, I could just say n1 everywhere. n1, n1, the same number 100. आपका ये जो n1 है, इसकी वैल्यू एक ही 100. And I'm passing the same number 100 everywhere. Let's run this code and see. क्या कहता है? Value 100 in octal format, value 100 in decimal format, octal format, hexadecimal format, binary format. So what has happened is I'm saying to get the representation of the number in octal, hexadecimal, or binary format, we're going to make use of these functions: hex, octal, and binary. Whatever number you pass, that will get converted into that particular format. So my number n1 value is 100. Here I represented the number 100 in octal format, but there is one aspect that we really need to explore. This what has got displayed over here, are they numbers or are they strings now? So I also need to check the type. So let's run this particular code once again, especially these 3 statements, and check for the type. I'm going to just say type of this. क्या देता है आपको, string देता है, integer देता है? That's what we would like to check. So I just say type of this, because then if I'm going to have the octal format by using function OCT, will I be in a position to carry out arithmetic operations on it? So that's what I want to check. So मैंने यहाँ कहा type. I save this particular file, save के लिए control S, and then I run this particular file. Oh no, it was of type string. That means these three function returns your value which is of type string. So octal function gives you a string. So जब आपको सिर्फ number display करना है, then use this function. But अगर उस पे arithmetic operations करना है, then don't say this OCT. Rather use it as normal values. जैसे यहाँ हमने add किया है, just use it. Okay, or you may have assigned to the variable. That's perfectly all right. You could still add that n1, n2, n3, n4. It will still end up giving you the same result. Like if I had taken this, if I had passed over here, and here if I said n1 plus n2 plus n3 plus n4, that will still give you answer as 400. Let's check it out. That still gives me answer as 400. Can you see this 2 times 400? Okay, we still get answer as 400. So this octal, hexadecimal, binary, these functions returns you string representation of that particular number, integer. And this will be octal representation, this will be hexadecimal representation, this will be binary. But what answer it returns is of type string. So all these three functions comment OCT, X, and binary gives the octal hexadecimal and binary representation of the integer in string format. आता है वो string format में आ रहा है. So you cannot use them for calculation. ना? So if I say octal n1 plus hexadecimal n1 plus binary n1, वो string को concat करके दे देगा. It will not do arithmetic operations. तो arithmetic चाहिए तो just do it the way we have done. These oct, hex, and decimal are only meant for representation of data in binary or hexadecimal or octal format. But then why are we learning this? Because at the end of the day, every program that we write is to generate report. And if you are expected, if you are then asked to display the numbers or the results in octal format, you should in a position display the result in a display. Display does not mean you are doing the calculations. So do the calculation directly, but while displaying, format the result. So this is meant only for formatting and nothing else. So let's explore these functions which are meant for converting that we are just now seeing. Function 6, bin and octal, one minute, can be used to convert integer into a corresponding string representation. So what you're going to get is a corresponding string representation. Like x of 19 will give you the string. Can you see this in quotes? Bin of 65 will give you this string representation of 65. Octal, this will also give you string representation. I can even pass binary format value. It will still give me the octal since I said octal and so on. Yeah. What was your question?
No, sir, my question was that only it got cleared now. It was we can't do oct of n1 plus x of n2 plus binary of n.
Because it is just string representation. It's only meant for formatting the result for display purpose, for printing purpose, for display purpose, and other things. When you want to do calculation, you can directly use numbers which may have been, don't put in string format. This gives you string representation for formatting. I'm not really interested in formatting right now. If I want to do, if your data is in string format and अगर आपको उसको convert करना है, then will this function work? Let's check it out. यानी if the story is something like this. Here we go. No, here we go. The script. Here we go. Suppose somebody has given me a string representation. If somebody says n1 is equal to in string representation 0b 110110 Okay, now that's another number, right? So a string representation. And if I want to print this value of n1, so if I say print n1 equal to comma n1, let's see what gets displayed. If I run this particular code, it says n1 is equal to this particular number. Oh, that's a string. That's a string. If
Yes,
I
sir.
also want to check the type, I just say type of n1. और यहाँ लिख देते हैं, comma slash is for tab. I say type of N1. Data type of N1 क्या है तो string type. It's a data result which is of type string. So we understood कि it's of type string. ये हमें पता चला है. Now let's do something more. अब यही string, okay, so I could just say S here, just to say it's a string, or I will just say string so and so. So let it be N1. It's of type string. It's of type string. But then if I want to have the numeric representation of that particular data, then what could I do? Let's try. If I take the same function, here I go. ये N1 जो represent कर रहे हैं, इसे हमें hexadecimal में represent करना है. So here when I represented it directly went ahead with that value of N1, a string है इसलिए string represent करेगा. So what do? I say OCT of N1, यानी मैं इसमें string pass कर रहा हूँ. और यहाँ भी लिखूंगा OCT of N1, OCT of N1. So let's see, can I pass a string object to this function octal? It says error. यानी क्या कहता है? String object cannot be interpreted as an integer. That means this function octal, okay, both the places, it requires you to pass your data as a number, not as a string. So this is a string. The string is something that we cannot pass. It will generate an error. Because OCT, octal, hexadecimal, all the three requires you to pass an integer. This is not an integer, it's a string representing an integer. It's not an integer, it's a string representing an integer. So could we overcome this particular problem? Okay. तो ये मैं comment out कर लेता हूँ since it is error. यहाँ issue क्या है? I say OCT X and decimal नहीं है हमारे पास, binary needs the argument to be of type integer. String type नहीं चलेगा. So this is generating an error. So I like to do two things. First, convert this string into an integer and then use it. And you know how to convert a string to an integer because input also returned you string that we converted to an integer. So I'm going to use concept of chaining. एक function के अंदर दूसरा function. So what I'm going to do is octal जो है N1 जो है N1 string है हमारी, तो यहाँ लिखूंगा int of N1. So first I'll convert this N1 into an integer and then I'll have an octal representation. So here also if I write the same thing, int of N1, I'm doing chaining. So I have N1 which is a string, I have N1 which is a string, which I'm going to convert to an integer. And once it is converted to integer, then I'll have octal representation of it. That's perfectly all right. Hopefully. Let's run the code. अभी भी error दे रहा है on which line number 31. कहाँ error दे रहा है? Octal of integer, okay, with base 10, 0b, invalid for int. Okay, let's see. कहाँ int पे गलत पास किया हमने? Int में where did I pass anything that is wrong? Okay, it could not take this 0b as a representation. Okay, so what we'll do is let's have an integer like 100 as a string. Yeah, any number as a string. So I just say n1 is equal to, I'll not put the base, I just put a number, say 455 in a string. So 455 is a string है. अब देखते हैं if I run this particular code, तो इसे ये आपका 455 का हेक्सा ऑक्टल रिप्रेजेंटेशन और वो कौन से टाइप का है, तो रिजल्ट कौन से टाइप का है, तो स्ट्रिंग टाइप का है. Now how did I get the result of type string? Because here what happened is we took this number 455, converted to a number, a string representing a number. I converted into integer that was converted to octal representation. ये आपका octal representation था. उसका टाइप क्या है? तो उसका टाइप string है ना, because octal, hexadecimal, all of them returns a string, integer in a string representation. But point is, string can be converted to integer, and integer again can be converted to a string in the specified format. So this was a string. I converted the string to an integer, and that integer was again represented in the string format of octal. Likewise, I could do it for hexadecimal, I could do it for binary as well. 455 का ही कर लेते हैं. So I have this number. The only change that I will do is here I will say hex. Here also I will say hex. and next case I'll say binary. Here I say binary, and here also I say binary. I save this and I run this. ये देखिएगा, while this is a 455 का octal representation, this is hexadecimal representation, while this is binary representation which is there. So let me know whether you have understood these statements that we have written. Have you also understood these three functions and the way we can use them?
Yes, sir.
Input user से आता है आने पर user input कैसे देगा पता नहीं ना. In the last example, when Prithviraj said, please enter the first integer, please enter the second integer. Let's open up that code once again, na? Just to understand it. Recent files and so on. ये Prithviraj का file है. Let's run this particular code, and let me take this over here and run it or open up that script only over here. कैसे open करेंगे देखो, file, open, और addition का script open कर लिया, ये open कर लिया. Now when you open up this particular script, watch over here ना, ये script हमने open कर लिया. I'm gonna run this script ना. अब first case में enter the first integer. मैंने कहा भाई 40, enter second integer 60, result is 100. Watch करते रहो ना. I'm going to run the same script once again. इसी script को दोबारा run करता हूँ. I enter the first integer as 4x64. That means your int function cannot go ahead evaluating an integer represented in hex format. Okay.
Yes.
Can it read an integer represented in decimal format? Yes, do it. So I now go on to, so Prithviraj asked me a question, please enter the first integer. I say, okay, ये भी तो integer ही है ना, 0x15 है ना, is that decimal? That's also not possible. So your conversion function int can convert only the string which are represented with base 10. And अगर मैं 55 लिखूं तो चल जाएगा. 77 decimal format में वो string रहेगा तो चल जाएगा. जैसे यहाँ A455, that was a string in decimal format. उसे ये int function convert कर पाएगा. But for others, it is failing. For others, it is failing. We just now checked it. Here it is failing. So this code that Prithviraj has given, academics में is okay. Real life में ठीक नहीं है. Why? Because when you ask the user to enter the first integer, is it necessary? Has it specified? Please enter the first integer in decimal format. Is that what he has specified? So if I'm the user and I'm a scientist, suppose, and I'm running the code, I'm used to working with floating point values in hex format. He says, please enter the first integer. I say 15 or XF, and the program fails. So I want to improve this code to such an extent that even if I'll save this file as addition 1. So we'll have two different programs. The int नहीं लूँगा मैं. I'll not take it as int. Rather, I use another function called as eval. अब देखते हैं, if I change this into eval, what happens? I run the program. First integer 45, second integer 60. It has given us the right answer. It says 45 plus 67 is equal to 100. Oh, that the addition was also working. So what is special about it? Okay, special thing comes in. Here we go. This is script. We run it once again. I give the first number as OXF, 0xf, 0x and f. This is 15 plus 15 is equal to 30. Same काम कर रहे हैं. That means it has given us an opportunity to enter the number in any numbering system. आप जो चाहे numbering system में तो इस sum की जरूरत ही नहीं थी variable यहाँ लेने की. I could directly write an expression. Python में कम code लिखिएगा Prithviraj. I could just say m1 plus n2. If that sum was required later, then I should have introduced the variable. So write as less code as you want, as you can. Because less the lines of code, less the chances of errors. जितना कम लिखोगे उतने errors के chance ज़्यादा है, कम है. जितना कम लिखोगे उतना maintenance भी कम है. So try and keep the code as small as possible. So look at this. If I say 33 plus 55, it gives me the right answer. Great. I run the code once again. This time round, I say 0B1101 and 0B1111. It has done the addition. 13 plus 15 is equal to 28. How is it 13? 1, 2, 4, 8. So 8 plus 4, 12 plus 1, 13. Here, 1, 2, 4, 8. So 1 plus 4 plus 2 plus 1 plus 2 plus 4 plus 8. And that becomes 15. 8 plus 4 is 12. 12 plus 2 is 14 plus 1 is 15. So we got answer as 28. It's working. So eval function does magic for us. It will be in a position to translate a string representing integer in decimal format, hexadecimal format, octal format, किसी भी format में. Whereas int can go ahead converting the string into integer provided the string is representing a number in decimal format. Whereas eval, even if the string is representing number in decimal, octal, or hexadecimal, still it will work. We saw, and in combination also it will work. Let me just show you that. That means I say first integer is OXF, second integer is 0 O 144. 15 plus 100 is equal to 115. Perfect. I could also use decimal format, binary format, and even decimal format. I say 100 plus 0B11 00100 100. So 100 plus 100 is 200. So any combination, because this is also an integer, just in binary format. This is also integer in octal format. This is also integer. Here, nobody can say this is not an integer. It's an integer. A representation in hex format. This is an integer. Representation in hexadecimal format, octal format. This is an integer in binary format. The eval function is far more powerful. It can convert a string representing integer in any numbering system, hex, decimal, hexadecimal, binary, octal, किसी भी format में. Whereas int can convert a string to an integer, provide a string representing integer in a string format, in decimal format. So these are some of the important functions that we should be aware of.
सर
Yes, please.
सर वो फिर असाइनमेंट में भी यूज कर सकते हैं ना,
कौन सा फंक्शन?
मतलब असाइन करते हो, वैल्यू असाइन करते हो,
Like
मतलब n1 इक्वल्स टू 100 ले आना तो eval करके कर सकते क्या वैसे? ओके,
it should represent an integer in any numbering system.
ओके,
The hex, octal, decimal are just different numbering system, and we want to represent a string in different numbering system.
ओके.
The eval function is powerful. Let's look at the documentation now. What does eval documentation says? Our friend is always there ना with us. हमारे लिए वो free है docs. तो क्या चिंता करना है? Where should we go for documentation?
docs.python.org.
नहीं पहले जाएंगे python.org and python.org फिर इससे अंदर जाएंगे documentation python. Okay, आपने बाहर कर
डाउनलोड
दिया.
किया
Link ही बाहर कर दिया. So once we come over here, I'll say eval, eval, eval. So आगे built-in function eval. What does it say? It says the argument are strings and optional globals and locals. So currently you don't know what is global and local. Keep it aside. Okay. The expression argument is parsed, that means converted, and evaluated as Python expression. Technically speaking, condition based using globals and local dictionaries. So show the big dictionaries there. This explanation is far more complex. What I explained is easy. Okay. No, don't look at the eval card documentation. You will go crazy because giving too much of details, which currently we don't need. Maybe over a period we need. I showed you eval function. What can it do? It can evaluate an expression. That expression is a string representing numbers in any numbering system. It's still okay. Okay, it's still okay. So all details are available here. So even expression if I write x plus 1, that will also be evaluated too. So any expression can be given. So eval is far more powerful than integer and so on. So let's see that power as well. So here we had used eval and let us do that in different way. 100 plus 100 ही करना है. We will pass a statement as well. It is still very, very good. So that actually gives us more interesting things. What could happen? Let me just show you. Possibilities unlimited. Here, I say 5. First integer I have been asked to enter. I say it is 5. Next is 8. So 5 plus 6 is 13. That's okay. 100 plus OX64 is 200. ये क्या बात है? ये तो hex में था, ये decimal में था. That's okay ना? I wanted to evaluate this expression, so I said eval. So even if the string represents not just one number, like here it was one integer, here it was one integer. It could be in decimal, octal, hexadecimal, go any further. I could actually pass an expression here. It will evaluate that expression and give it to us. So here also I could pass an expression that means when I'm running this particular code, I could do crazy things which we should normally not do. I could write an expression here, like I could just say 5 plus 70 and 4 into 10. So कहता है 75 plus 40 is equal to 150. This is not what would have happened. I couldn't give an expression if I had said int. So evaluates the expression 5 plus 70 now becomes 75. 4 plus 10 now becomes 40. When I'm evaluating, it is like not 4 plus 5 is 70 into 10. It's 45, 75 in plus 10, and that's 115 and so on. So some crazy stuff can be done when I'm using function called as eval. It can evaluate an expression. Have you all understood this? So if you are running a program where we are expecting some expression to come in, or where we are expecting some expression to come in that case, we could definitely think about using function eval. Now let's talk about integers. Now integers in almost every language. Now I'm talking about differences, and you have to keep those things in mind. Every number has a domain, or every type of data has a domain. What is a domain? We have touched upon this term called as domain earlier. Anybody? What is a domain? Go on, logic में. What are fundamentals we have seen domain?
Area, range.
Pardon?
Area, range.
No. Range, area नहीं, range. We have seen this term. आपको लिखने भी कहा था domain. It's a possible range of values that can be assigned to a variable of a particular type. It's a possible range of values that can be assigned to a variable of a particular type. Note करते रखो, याद नहीं रहने वाला. It's a possible range of values that can be assigned for a variable of a particular type. यानी character का भी range, alphabets का domain है, क्या है? A to Z है. Okay, तो अगर आप character type का variable बनाते हो, तो any symbol can be represented. उसका domain बहुत बड़ा है. All the symbols that are possibly there on a keyboard. Integer है तो उसका भी domain रहेगा. Float है तो उसका भी domain रहेगा. That means the largest and smallest value, the range of values from this to this. Say, Monica in a classroom. In her class there are 60 students. So probably roll numbers अगर पहले का 1 है तो 1 to 60 is the domain. There will nobody in the class whose roll number is 0. There will nobody in the class whose roll number is 100. Because number of students in that class is only 60. So domain is a possible range of values that you can have. But every data type also has a domain. That means if I create a variable of a particular type, it will have some range of values that that variable can store. That's it. Most of the languages. Python is interesting. So if I was working with integers, probably in language like C or C++, so in that case, integer का एक domain होता है. Okay, I'm interested in doing this comparison because here is where Python stands out from other languages. इसलिए different होता है. So if I'm working on a 32-bit machine, so in that case, in C, C++, Java, everywhere, the smallest integer that you can store in a variable of type integer could be 2 raised to 2 to the power 32 minus 1. 32 bits set to 32 minus 1. And largest value that we can store is, smallest value that we can store is minus 2 raised to 32 minus 1. And largest could be plus 2 raised to, smallest is minus 2 raised to 32. And largest is plus 2 raised to 32 minus 1. That's the domain. Let's see this Python respects these domain. What if I give a very large value? Let's check it out. So here we go. We're going to do some testing for Python. So here I am. I have a number. I hope you can see the screen, everybody.
Yes.
I have a number and I'm just going to write an expression. I say 2 to the power 10. I got 2010. Okay. I'm going to store into a variable n1 2 to the power 10. And check, let's check type of n1. n1 का type क्या है? n1 का type is still integer. Okay. Now I'm going to store a larger number, 2 to the power 100. And let me check the type of n1. It's still integer. Let me print this value for you. Oh, that's a very large number. That's a very large number. I'm going to store 2 to the power 1000. Oh, 1000 लिखना है यार. Come on. That could be very, very large number. अगर ये number n1 print करने जाए, that's a very large number that we have. Quite a large number, isn't it? Very large number. But what's the type of this number? If I still check, the type of this number is integer. Let us store even larger number, 2 to the power 10,000. And if I want to print this number, it is going to be very large number. Look at that. Look at that. Okay, it will require you ages to read this number. Your number क्या है? If I ask you, just tell me, read this number for me. Okay. So इसका type क्या है? So let's say ये कोई और type का number है, still is integer. If I still check type, it's still integer. That means there is no upper limit. The limit is the amount of memory that you have. This is a very large number. Can we go beyond or even smaller range? Let's do that. Let's say n1 is equal to 2 to the power minus 10. Okay, let's see what's the value of n1. It's a small number, 2 to the power minus 10. How about 2 to the power minus 1000? Yeah, 10,000. That could be very, very small number. Oh, it says gone out of the list. It says so small that there is no point in representing that number. 1000, it's again so small. It says, oh, now it has represented number in exponential format. It says 9.3 something 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 into 2 to the power 302. That means you can store very, very small numbers and large number का तो कोई limit ही नहीं है. How big a number you can really store? Could I store something like 2 to the power 10,000? Let's check it out. 1 lakh, 2 to the power 1 lakh. Let's see, do we go out of memory? We still have not gone out of memory. Oh, it says exceeds the limit. यानी वो कितने digits का आ सकता है? सबसे बड़ा 4300 digits आ सकते हैं. And if you really want to even go beyond that, that's also possible. So now we have understood it's a value error. 2 to the power 1 lakh नहीं आ रहा है. It says largest number that I can have is up to 4300 digits. 4,300 digits ka number. That's a very large number. For any practical reason, even from Earth to Moon, if you go 10 times, then also you will not come across that large number. Correct? So it's a very large number that we have. Let's say 50,000. Will it work? 50,000. Oh, it works for 50,000. Let's print this number. Oh no, it says no. Go with 4,300 digits ke upar ja raha hai. How can I do that? I can set the function. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to say import sys, and I'm going to say sys dot. Okay. ये कहता है integer का length कितना बड़ा हो सकता है? That I can specify. So I say sys dot this, and I say the number of digits I should have is suppose 10,000 digits. 4,000 था ना? अब मैं कह रहा हूँ 10,000 digits तक चला गया. Big limit. Now this is all provided my machine. My memory is large enough. ये run कर लिया. Now if I print number, it says 10,000 से भी ऊपर जा रहा है. Okay. 2 to the power 50,000 is even more than 10,000 digits. Okay, then let's increase the digits once again. So मैं कहता हूँ 1 lakh digits. अब देखते हैं 2 to the power this. Does it go beyond 1 lakh digits? हाँ आ गया. दिखाई दे रहा है आपको? I can see. नहीं दिखाई दे रहा है आपको?
No, sir.
No, sir.
अरे है. इस पे क्लिक करेंगे तो आ जाएगा. ये 1 lakh digits का नंबर आ गया. And see that 1 lakh digit का. So even if you come across this problem, now as long as my machine has enough RAM, it will work. जब RAM exceed हो जाएगा, then it will fail. So when it said by default, I can display a number up to 4,300 digits, I gave a call to a function called sys.set int max string digits. Okay, look at the names of the function. Haven't was I not telling you even during logic, name should be meaningful, let it be long, कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता है कैसा नाम दिया है set integer max string digits यानी integer का maximum string का digits कितना बड़ा हो सकता है तो by default it is 4300 digits we try to change to 10,000 then I change it to 1 lakh तो आपका integer 1 lakh digit तक भी जा सकता है 1 lakh digits so let's see for 2 to power 1 lakh कुछ ज्यादा हो जाएगा but let's try and ये आ रहा है 386 लाइंस में फिट होगा 386 लाइन का एक नंबर तो if I click this you have a number which is of 386 lines read this number like in Hollywood movies when they show something like some script आ रहा है ऐसा कोई magically हो रहा है तो ऐसे नंबर so point that I'm trying to put across is the fun game is over point is integers can be as big as you want as long as your machine supports it. So Python में the upper domain का कोई limitation नहीं है, provided your machine has a support for that particular value. If your machine can support it, Python has no issue. That means right. And when the default is like the string represented as integer, the number of digits by default cannot exceed 4,300. Note करके रखिएगा by default cannot exceed 4,300. And if you want to go beyond that, you have to import a module called as sys. Note करके रखिएगा. You'll have to import a module called as sys and call a function from sys module. The name of the function is set int max string digits. So when you set this particular function, you pass the string number. That means your number can have that many number of digits. And इतने digits तक का number वो display कर पाए. But this can also fail if your RAM is not sufficient. So your RAM should also be sufficient. I have a 16 GB RAM. I have enough RAM. 16 है शायद मेरे इसमें. So I have to SYSTM system. So if I go to system, we can check how much RAM do I have. A 16 GB RAM. So I have enough of physical memory which is available for me to work with. So I could display. If you have lesser RAM, probably when you carry out these operations and when you generate a number, if you do not have sufficient RAM, in that case it will fail. But otherwise it has to work correctly. Have you all understood this? Have you all noted this as well? Quick feedback, everybody. समझ में आया है क्या? नोट किया है क्या?
सर वो फाइल शेयर करो ना.
हम्म?
फाइल शेयर करो ना इसके पहले का.
Integer representation है सर. Integer representation वाला ना.
वही.
So I share. So we are currently working on ideal. Yeah, ideal is so interesting. Addition 1 भी करना है ना, जिसमें हमने eval किया लिया. Prithviraj had used int. I change it to eval, correct? So ये भी ले लो function program addition. Anybody amongst you is working on mobile right now? कोई है अपने से mobile पे? Anybody on mobile? Raise your hand. कैमरा में नहीं, emotion reactions में hand over raise कीजिएगा. Good that nobody is on mobile. That's very good. Because when that interaction misses, you cannot try out those features that I'm discussing. It's better that you are on not on mobile. Okay, so let's proceed further, or let's do a small exercise now. Okay, I'll give an assignment, and I want you to complete this assignment because basic arithmetic operations are done. What I would also do is, I will also talk about the other types of data, especially the floating point, and then I'll give an assignment. Okay, so that will cover up the basic types of data that is there. So let's quickly run through the other types of values that we have. Earlier in Python, we also had a data type called as long integer. You now don't have a support for it anymore. You don't need it because we saw our integers are pretty long now. You don't need this type now. But earlier we had a type called as long integers. Today in 3.x, everything is long integer. But in the early versions, suppose why am I mentioning this? Maybe someday you will work on Python 2, some project for some project. And while you're working on that Python 2 project, if you want a larger now integer, then just int will not do. In that case, long int use करना होगा आपको.
Yes. So in some cases of exponential long.
No, that's in C. Python doesn't have long.
Okay.
Okay, that's in C language. Actually, underlying Python is C only, ना?
Yes, yes.
हम क्या पढ़ रहे हैं? C Python ही तो पढ़ रहे हैं ना?
Sir.
हाँ. So, but then so underlying तो C काम कर रहा है, but वो long का जो modifier है, that's not available in Python. Rather, long int is also not available in Python today. Today integer is very long integer today. हमने देखा ना अभी कितना बड़ा integer आप ले सकते हो, जितना बड़ा चाहिए उतना बड़ा आप integer ले सकते हो. Just give me a second. So this. We also have support for Boolean type, and that has a smallest domain. इसमें दो ही value आ सकते हैं, either true or false. I don't know नहीं आएगा, either true or false. So if somebody asks you which is the data which has the smallest domain in Python, it's Boolean, because the possible range of values that we can store is only true and false. There is no third value that we can store. Programmers now who have been using older versions of Python या जो C, C++ से आ रहे हैं, उनके लिए 1 is true and 0 is false. Python में ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. In Python, true is true and false is false. Okay, so we will always, you should use built-in Boolean objects whose Boolean values are required. We'll avoid using 0 and 1 to represent true and false now. We'll use true for true and false for false. You can use virtually any expression in Boolean context, like if, and the Python tries to determine the truth value. Different data types have different values, which values are true or false in the Boolean context. In the context of Boolean operations, when expressions are used to control flow statements, the following values are interpreted as false. So this is a bit confusing, which I'll tell you later. So false, none, numeric, 0, all those are considered as false. Empty string, empty containers are also contain false, but we do not know what these dictionary tuples are, so we'll keep this thing aside. I'll just give an example of Boolean type before we go with floating types of values. So let's have an example for Boolean type. Here we are. We saw this integer. Now let's go with Boolean. So I'll save this file first. Here's a file. I'll save it first. I'll say file, save. I'll say Boolean representation. Boolean representation. Okay, let's stop it. So I just want to know. Let's write a script, small script to understand it. Okay. I don't know whether you are eligible to work or not. I write some relational expressions. Just say, I have a statement. Look at this. I say print. I say print. And I want to compare. I have two values, n1 and n2. Suppose n1 is 10, n2 is 20. I want to check whether n1 equal to same है क्या, comma n2 is what I want to check. So here I write a statement n1 equal to n2. So whenever I write a Boolean expression, that means this expression is going to give you only answer as true or false. There is no third answer it will give you. इससे और कोई आंसर आपको देगा नहीं. So I save this file, Control S, I run this particular code. So when I run this code, कहता है 10 plus 20 कहता है equal to 20 है क्या, 10 equal to 20 है क्या, false. Comparison करो. तो ये result आपका false है. 10 equal to 20 का result is false. I should put over here something so that you understand कि कुछ अलग हो रहा है. Yeah. So this is readable now. 10 equal to 20 कहता है false है. Okay. So when I use this relational expression, so I'm using relational operator like equal to. यानी नए set of operators भी देख रहे हैं हम लोग, जो अब तक हमने नहीं देखे. 10 less than or equal to 20 है क्या? Oh yes, that's true. So if I run this particular code, it says yes, 10 less than or equal to 20 है क्या? True है. So likewise, greater than or equal to 20 देते हैं. 10 greater than or equal to 20 है क्या? That's false again. greater than 20 है तो ये false है. Okay. So we saw less than equal to, equal to. Let's talk about not equal to. Let's talk about not equal to. 10 not equal to 20. So let me say not equal to 20. Let me say not equal to 20. And let's run the code. यहाँ से नहीं, यहाँ से FI कर रहा है this. 10 not equal to 20 true. So we are, for all these Boolean expressions, we have got only two answers, either true or false. It did not say I don't know. Okay, sorry, ऐसा कुछ नहीं कह रहा है. So there are a lot of operators, like relational operators. These are all relational operators. Huh? Equal, equal to, not equal to, less than equal to, greater than equal to, not equal to. These are all relational operators. Why are they called as relational? Because they compare the relationship between two operands. दो operands है. They are all binary operators. देखो दो पे काम कर रहे हैं. N1, N2, N1, N2. हर जगह दो operators है. दो operands है. This is one operand. This is another operand. And why this is an operator? So all these operators operate on two operands. दो values पे operate करते हैं. So they are all binary operators. So there are unary operators, binary operator, ternary operator. Unary एक ही operand पे काम करेगा, binary दो पे काम करेगा, ternary तीन operands पे काम करेगा, and so on. So these are all binary operators. So we have seen all the binary operators, and these are relational operators. Relational operators always give answer as true or false. So we saw all the answers that we got were either true or false. Can I assign true or false directly? Yes. I said they can also be used as a part of control flow statement, like if, like while. ये सारे आपके control flow statements हैं. वहाँ भी इनका इस्तेमाल करते हैं हम लोग. Let's do that. Control flow नहीं करेंगे, हम assign करके देखेंगे. I'll say, are you eligible to vote? तो समझो आपका age है. Your age is suppose 14. I want to know whether you are eligible to vote. Eligible to vote. तो आपने लिखा age greater than or equal to 18 रहेगा तो you are eligible to vote. So we had a variable is eligible to vote. And we have an expression is equal to इसका वैल्यू क्या दिया age greater than 18 रहेगा तो ये eligible होगा. Okay, age तो 14 है. So let's have two statements. और एक देते हैं printf print. तो printf तो है ना, मेरे जैसे सारे जो पुराने लोग हैं, पुराने means coming from C background, वो print करेंगे तो F आ जाता है कि आज चल जाता है. Just used to so much of code that we have written in C language. तो print याद ही में printf हो जाता है. Okay. So person with age so and so. We have somebody. Suppose we have a name is equal to कौन है Rahul है suppose. Rahul है. So we'll say Rahul with age. So I'll say name with age is eligible to vote, question mark, comma, is statement लिख दिया मैंने. Just for say for this and I say fine. ठीक है, Rahul with age 14 is eligible to vote. False. 14 साल का बच्चा थोड़ी ना वोट करता है. False. Okay. Let's here. The vote name with age so many years is eligible to vote. As a statement हमने लिख दिया. Sometimes if your input doesn't fit onto one line, can I go to next line? तो जैसा कि next line पे जा सकते हैं कि देखते हैं. If I go to next line, what has happened? It works. So very much allowed to go to the next line. I can just press enter and go to next line. तो मैं यहाँ हूँ, मैंने file save कर लिया है. File save and I run. It works. Rahul with age 14 years is able to vote. Get that false. So not necessarily that you have to force to display everything on the same line. if it goes on next line, just press enter. You can just continue print statement on one line. Print starts over here and ends over here. That's a function. You could just split into multiple lines. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to change the age. So 41 नहीं था राजा, Rahul was of 41. Here. So Rahul with age 41 years is equal to truth. So I have written an expression, result of which has been assigned to a variable. So what's the type of this variable? इस वेरिएबल का टाइप क्या है? इस वेरिएबल का टाइप क्या है? I just run this particular code. कहता है इसका टाइप क्या है? तो boolean. So you could immediately find out its subtype boolean. It says this is a variable and the type of the variable is boolean type. But I told you, if I have boolean variable for a lot of expression, oh, can I assign 0 and 1 to it? Is that possible? Does 0 mean true? That will come to boolean context में बाद में देता हूँ थोड़ी देर के बाद. थोड़ी देर में अगले सेशन में. But this is how I can use the boolean type. All relational expressions return you boolean value. You could assign boolean value true or false directly as well. यानी ये आपका एक वेरिएबल है, उसको आप डायरेक्टली ट्रू कहोगे तो भी चलेगा. And you want to print its value. वहां से टाइप हटा देंगे, इस वेरिएबल की वैल्यू हम प्रिंट करेंगे बस. राइट, एक जगह ट्रू कहा तो अगली बार फॉल्स करके देखेंगे इसकी वैल्यू. तो यू कुड डायरेक्टली असाइन वैल्यू एज वेल. These are boolean literals. Literals मतलब fixed values, constant जिसे हम कहते हैं ना, integer constant जैसे boolean constants. False. तो एक ट्रू है, एक कैपिटल है, एक फॉल्स है. उसकी केस भी चेंज करके देखेंगे. तो एक में वैल्यू ट्रू है, दूसरे में वैल्यू फॉल्स है. तो कैन आई राइट फॉल्स इन स्मॉल केस? लेट्स चेक इट आउट. या ट्रू इन अपर केस, ऑल अपर केस. केस चेंज कर सकते हैं देखते हैं. तो मैंने फॉल्स को लिखा सारा स्मॉल केस में और ट्रू को लिखा सारा अपर केस में. लेट्स सी. I want to run it generates an error. कहता है false लिखा आपने, is not defined. Did you mean false F capital? Okay, so this is an error. ये error है, इसे हम comment out करते हैं. ये error है, we commented out. True की बात देखते हैं अभी. तो I run this code. नहीं कहता है. I say compilation F5. अब कहता है did you mean TRUE? ये लिखना था क्या आपको? The interpreter is smart. Okay, the name error. Name true is not defined. I don't know anything as TRO in uppercase. That means it is case sensitive. कहता है वो TRU ऐसे चाहिए था क्या आपको? तो here we want to add the comment. ये गलत है. Okay. So these literals are predefined. They have to be represented in upper camel case only. Upper camel case. First letter is capital, rest of letters are small. ऐसे चलना. So have you understood this boolean variable concept? Feedback. We can also go ahead representing floating point values. Now let's look at floating point representations. How we can represent floating point values. Let's have a look. Is this screen appearing perfectly, or is there something different now? Yes, can you all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, it's clear.
Better than earlier, or is the same clarity?
आधीची जास्त clear होती.
आधी जास्त clear होती. Strange.
माझ्या इथे network होती.
Okay. I'll keep it how it was earlier then. I'll not change it. Actually, I just saw an option in Zoom saying optimize for sharing. Na? So I optimize for sharing. अगर आपको पहले ही अच्छा लग रहा है, तो so be it. Now that we saw integer type, we saw Boolean type. Let's go ahead with floating point data and so on. So when we talk about Python and when we are talking about different types of data that we have to represent, we also have support for floating point data, which is there. We have floating points of data sharing visible. It's Python supports integer and floating point numbers. There is no declaration to distinguish between them. So there is no way I'll say this, I'm going to create an integer variable, I'm going to create a floating point variable. ऐसा कुछ नहीं. Apart by presence or absence of decimal point. So if I say 2.0, it will by default be float. And if I just say 2, it will by default be integer. So there is no way I can predefine it to be a float or it to be of type integer. Depending on what value assigned, it will automatically be either of type integer or it will be type of floating point. So based on existence of that decimal point, we can use type function to check the type of the variable. We have been using it, but there is one more interesting function which is there. Okay, and that's a function called as isInstance. So let me give an example of difference between type and isInstance, and also represent the floating point values. So when you talk about floating point values, you can represent these floating point values, or they are of double precision. That means you can have very high degree of precision. That means number of digits after decimal can be far too many. Now, listen to me very carefully. IEEE, which is a governing body for electronics, have come up with, listen to me, have come up with more than one formats of representation of floating point values. What Python has adopted is IEEE 754 standard. So when we talk about how are floating point values represented in Python, so you have to, if you have to be very, very precise, so you could say it is represented as per IEEE 754 standards. So IEEE is the governing body for electronics. So they have decided that your computer is an electronic device. So they have come up with more than one standards for representation of floating point values, more than one standards for representation. Python has adopted, Java has adopted the same format, IEEE 754 format of representation. So उसने define किया उसका domain क्या है, everything. So Python will adhere to this IEEE 754 standards for representation of floating point value. The approximate largest value क्या है, तो 1.8 into 10 to the power 308. That's the largest approximate largest value. And उससे बड़ा store करने जाओगे तो you'll get a string called as infinite. And we'll come to this later. And I'll just show you the smallest and the largest value. Okay, let's do that. And you can also represent floating point values as an integer ratio. So let me give you a glimpse about all these things quickly. Let's write one more step. We saw Boolean. Now let's go ahead with floating point. Say file, new file. We want to save that file. I'm going to close this file. Close window. And now we're going to start with this. I'll save this as float. I say float ex. Okay, let's have some number. I say value of pi. is equal to. One way I could do is like you say 22/7. I could get the value of pi, some approximate value of pi, and I want to print that value. So I say print pi is equal to pi. But it would have been best if I select the symbol of pi. But anyway, let's run this. Get a pi is equal to so and so 3.142857 something 20-digit precision by default. High degree precision, it is displayed. But that's a real number that we have. Yeah, existence of decimal point will define it. But अगर मुझे pi का symbol use करना था, that was also possible. So let's go ahead with character map. If I come to character map, you'll have all the symbols that your machine can support. तो यहाँ अगर आप जाओगे and you search for your links और यहाँ अगर देखोगे कहीं pi का symbol आपको मिल जाता है, so you can very well use that symbol of pi. Do you see any symbol of pi? कोई देख पाए तो बताओ मुझे, किसी को दिखाई देता है तो? Yes, and we could figure it out. There are multiple ways to do that. ये एक तरीका है Windows में. I'll show you other ways. But if you can see pi anywhere, let me know. Even if you don't find, I'll show you how to do it. ये pi है क्या? No, it looks like pi, but ये pi नहीं. Small letter p है. That was not pi. Alpha, beta, theta है तो pi भी चाहिए है तो एक थीटा है सब कुछ है तो pi भी कहीं तो रहेगा. For some reason, we could not find pi. Whatever could be the reason, नहीं दिखाई दे रहा है pi. So how do you go about? I had mentioned Python 3 today that we are working, suppose Unicode characters. So let's go to unicode.org. Let's go to unicode.org. ये unicode.org में आ गए हम लोग. यह सारी सिंबल दिखाई देंगे जो आपकी मशीन में सपोर्ट करेंगे. Okay, you're going to search for a symbol of pi, suppose. तो मैं pi के सिंबल के लिए सर्च कर रहा हूँ unicode.org पे. Benefits for symbol of pi. कहते हैं pi का symbol and they have given some numbers over here. Okay. तो ये क्या numbers हैं? Okay, it's a Unicode value representing the symbol of pi. It's a Unicode value representing the symbol of pi. Can I make use of it? Let's check it out. Here, I say, ये ऐसा आपका सिंबल है, डाल के देखते हैं. ये तो वैसे की वैसे डिस्प्ले कर रहा है. No change. So let us try and represent in different ways. Slash u something something. ये तो नहीं यार, ये गलत है. ऐसा नहीं चलेगा. Okay, there's something wrong over here in the representation. Slash u. I put this in double quotes and see. नहीं कहता है incomplete input. कहीं तो कुछ तो गलत है. Okay. I said u plus, I said this. If I say n1 is equal to this number, will that work? U plus something something. So n1 में क्या आ गया? तो कहता है u plus d1 something. No, this is not working for us. So I need to know some mechanism as to how to represent these Unicode values. So ये hexadecimal representation and nothing else. This is nothing but a hexadecimal representation. अगर ये hexadecimal representation है, तो मैं यहाँ से u हटा देता हूँ और यहाँ 0x लिख देता हूँ। अब देखते हैं n1 का वैल्यू क्या आता है। तो if I say eval and if I say n1 will give me some number. So this is the number which can give you symbol of pi. This is a number that can give you symbol of pi. तो ये जो नंबर है 1D765, that's representation of that particular number. So I'll come to this discussion later. I just want you to have a look at it. कि ये जो नंबर है ये सारे हेक्साडेसिमल में है, but I am more interested in displaying that particular symbol pi. मेरा इंटरेस्ट पाई सिंबल डिस्प्ले करने के में है, ना कि और कुछ करने में। तो ये मैथमेटिकल ऑपरेटर्स है, इसमें पाई आ रहा है कि देखते हैं। Can you see over here in your pi? I could just copy it and use it. So an array यहाँ कहीं pi है क्या?
Sir, I'm able to find out pi
Pardon?
symbol in character map.
Pardon?
Character, I'm able to find out pi symbol in character map.
Okay. तो अगर आपको pi symbol मिला है character map में, तो in that case you could check. अगर if you are in character map, then you have what you need to check is, and you need to tell me what is the number for that particular symbol. उसका number बताइए। कैसे आता है number? तो when you click on this, you get to see over your number. Think it दिखाई दे रहा number? Can you see that number? होने का नीचे।
Yes, sir.
तो आपको जो
Yes,
pi मिला
yes.
उसका number क्या है?
Okay, एक minute.
So for any symbol that we select, you will always find this number. Can you see this u plus something something? अरे वो Unicode value था. That means we take this particular symbol, उसका Unicode value क्या है? 01610 whatever it is. तो likewise हर एक इसका आपको एक Unicode Latin character key stroke भी मिलेगा. तो can you find the key stroke for pi? होने का अरे R चाहिए मुझे, तो ये key stroke चाहिए R0174. 1/4 डालना है तो उसका की स्ट्रोक है R0189। मोनिका पाई मिला है तो बताओ जल्दी से।
Yes, sir. मैंने chat box में डाला है.
चैट बॉक्स में क्यों डाला है? नहीं है, ओके। OX70 है आपके में, ओके।
0 दिख रहा है.
OX नहीं आएगा इसमें, R प्लस 0 आएगा कुछ तो। ये चाहिए मुझे, यही दिखा है आपने मुझे दिस साइड। यस और नो? अरे जल्दी बोलो मोनिका।
एक मिनट सर, वही दिख रहा है वहाँ पे कैरेक्टर कोड करके आया है, उसके सामने का कोड दिया है. एक कैन आई शेयर माय स्क्रीन?
No. So what I'll do is I'll directly type that particular number. अगर आपने जो कहा है वो सही है क्या चेक करते हैं। So in that case I can hold my R key and from the numeric keypad I can actually press the number saying 070. तो वो F आ गया डियर 070
0870.
तो 0x नहीं टाइप करते 7 यानी हेक्स में 0x70 था। ओके, तो आपका जो नंबर है वो है आपका 0x70, तो दैट्स 112। दैट मीन्स R112। तो R112 वो यहाँ P आ गया, पाई नहीं आ रहा है, तो इट्स नॉट गिविंग इज द एग्जैक्ट वैल्यू ऑफ पाई। डोंट वरी। तो हियर वी आर ट्राइंग टू सी यहाँ मुझे पाई का कहीं से सिंबल मिल रहा है क्या। तो वी एक्चुअली ऑल द सिंबल्स आर अवेलेबल। कैरेक्टर मशीन पे जितने सिंबल्स है वो सही सारे आपको यहाँ मिलेंगे डेफिनेटली। यू विल गेट दोस थिंग्स। यू कैन अडॉप्ट अ कैरेक्टर, यू कैन टेक सम इमोजी, यू कैन यूज एनी ऑफ द यूनिकोड कैरेक्टर्स। आप कुछ भी कर सकते हैं। तो लेट्स अगेन सर्च फॉर पाई and you'll see the representation. Unicode utilities, it says आपके पास ये लोअर केस पाई लेटर है, तो कैरेक्टर प्रॉपर्टीज में गए हम लोग, एंड आपके पास पाई है, that's 1D28, ये आपका वैल्यू है, ये आपका सिंबल है। ओके, इट सेज ये अवेलेबल है आपके पास। ये अलग अलग तरीके में पाई रिप्रेजेंट किया गया है। ऐसा वाला पाई चाहिए आपको, ऐसा वाला पाई चाहिए आपको। ओके, स्मॉल ग्रीक लेटर पाई ये चाहिए। हर एक के कैरेक्टर की वैल्यूज अलग है। So we have different ways to represent that particular symbol. Okay, we have different ways to represent that particular symbol. So let's take this particular symbol. So I think it's an octal value that they are currently displaying, a hexadecimal value. So it says it was 03C0. So let's see what this value is. So if I say 03C0, okay, 0x30, 0x30 to the 960. So let me say art 960. Right, ये इसमें तो कुछ और ही दे दिया इसने टैब वगैरह, ठीक है. लेट मी स्टार्ट विथ नोटपैड और यहाँ टाइप करता हूँ आर्ट, क्या था नंबर 960, ऐसे आर्ट 960. ओके ओके, वी कुड नॉट टाइप इट. चलो, विल सी लेटर हाउ टू टाइप इट. कॉपी कर लो बेटा. So I take this, I try and copy this particular thing over here, that works. Okay, we'll see as to how to give it support for in here. Instead of writing this particular statement, what we could have done is we could have put across pi symbol in data. Okay, because that's not a topic for discussion right now. Let's keep it aside. Let's not worry too much. I just copied this and I kept it. So pi is equal to pi is what we're trying to display. Let's see, does Python have a support for this? Will it display that symbol pi? Yeah, it displays. So it's a some number that is okay. So that was integer region. We have gone at displaying the value of pi, and this is a large number that they have. This is a large number that they have. Large means precision was very high. We can control the precision, that we'll see later. But if I have to display this number as integer fraction, so that's also possible. So I had a function called as float dot as integer ratio. So when I say float dot as integer ratio, so if I say now pi is equal to as float dot as integer ratio, and I pass pi and I print this value. It comes to as everything. तो pi as integer ratio क्या आएगा देखते हैं. The pi as integer ratio क्या है? This number divided by this number will give this number. A numerator or denominator. Now this was too big a value for us to, too very complex value for us to understand. So what we'll do is, we'll take the value, some simpler value, like I'll just take number like 3.14. Suppose I'll just take number like 3.14, and that I'd like to represent as a integer ratio. Smaller precision वाले थे. I'll just say number 3.14 को ही represent कीजिएगा as integer ratio. तो जो number detail में जा रहा है. Okay, let's take some other number. Let's take number x 7.5 as integer ratio. There are 15 divided by 2 is 7.5. Okay, that's easier way to understand. That was not the value of pi. So it was 7.5 as integer ratio. The 7.5 as integer ratio. This was 22 by 7 as integer ratio. Okay, but then value of pi as integer, it was pi actually by as integer ratio. I had given 3.14 as integer ratio. So एक value of pi जो था एक 3.14 as integer ratio ले लिया और एक 7.5 as integer ratio ले लिया, and we got the result as an integer ratio 15 divided by 2 as an integer ratio. Okay. Here when I say 3.14, to get exact number 3.414, this number divided by this number will give exactly 3.14, and so on. But if you really want this mathematical constant pi, you don't have to give such an expression. Probably this may not be the most appropriate one. So we have another module called as math, and math gives you the actual value of pi, the most accurate value that Python can support. Say math.pi. Now, if I represent this pi, probably this will be far more accurate. Let's see. ये number देखो, ये more accurate. This number is different than this. ये था 1415 और यहाँ था 142. Okay, 8. Oh, that means 22/7 is not the most accurate value. The more accurate number is this that we have. And I can increase this precision to have more accurate answer. But how to increase the precision, we'll see later. So I have a predefined constant called as pi. You don't have to do a calculation. Module math provides you math.pi, and you can get the more accurate value of pi. Again, that was not the discussion topic. Discussion topic is how are we representing the values. As an integer ratio, I can represent floating point values in hexadecimal format as well. So that's also possible. So floating point values can be represented in hexadecimal as well. Okay, so if I have to represent them, hexadecimal. Okay, here I haven't spoken about it, so I will not talk. Oh, yes, here we are. Float.hex. So if I have any value, I can represent in hexadecimal format as well. So let's take this number pi, or let's take some other number and represent in hexadecimal format. So I want to represent floating point value in hex format. So how do I do that? So let's say if I have a number and I want to represent it. Say I have a number f1 is equal to some value. F is equal to 0.25. Suppose 0.25 value. I normally want to represent f is equal to, suppose if I say is equal to f, जो है वही डिस्प्ले होगा, उसमें क्या होगा? F is equal to f, डिस्प्ले सेम रहेगा. 0.25 is equal to 0.25. But now this 0.25 I represent in hex. It's the same value. So I can say f float float dot as integer ratio f. So I'm just going to display it in 3 different ways. So this is now in ratio. This is 1 divided by 4 is 0.25 as a ratio. Same thing I'll represent as hex format. How do I represent the hex format? Same number. So I can say float dot hex. Not very commonly used representation, but that's very much available. So कहता है 0.1, okay, into 2 to the power minus 2. बराबर है क्या? 10 p है, e की जगह 10 था. p जब इसमें 2 to the power minus 2 क्या रहेगा?
0.25.
0.25. 2 to the power minus 2 क्या आएगा? 1 divided by
0.5.
1 divided by
1/2.
1 divided by क्या आएगा? ये 2 to the power आ रहा है, 10 to the power नहीं आएगा. 2 to the power
4
minus 2
आएगा.
क्या है? हाँ?
4, 1 divided by 4.
1 divided by 4. तो ये जो था आपका 1 divided by 4 यानी 0x1 क्या है? 1 ही है. x में 0x1 is 1. So 1 divided by 1/4. So that's nothing but 0.25 divided by 4 इस तरीके से. तो ये 2 to the power minus 2 है, यानी 1 into 2 to the power minus 2. 1 into 2 to the power minus 2. तो ऐसे भी हम लोग हेक्स में भी रिप्रेजेंट कर सकते हैं, हम लोग एज ए फ्रैक्शन भी रिप्रेजेंट कर सकते हैं, एज ए इंटीजर रेशियो भी रिप्रेजेंट कर सकते हैं. आप द सेम नंबर आई कैन रिप्रेजेंट एक्सपोनेंशियल फॉर्मेट एज वेल. अब एक्सपोनेंशियल फॉर्मेट में कैसे रिप्रेजेंट करें? When the numbers are very large, it will automatically go ahead trying to display that number in exponential format. Okay, so if I have some large numbers, ये hex format था, From hex to decimal भी ला सकते हैं आप. But then if I have a number, suppose मेरे पास कोई एक ऐसा number है. If this is a number, and if I want to display that number, okay. So let's say I say print, and I want to display that particular number. So ये 5e minus 324 नहीं display करेगा. So let's run this particular code and see. If I run this particular code, and it said 5e minus 34. Oh, can I assign it to the variable? Can I say f is equal to 5 minus 34? And then if I want to display value of f, and I also check for the type of f, क्या है दोनों check करते हैं. If I run this particular code, कहता है float है 5e something something. That means 5e minus 324 मतलब 5 into 10 to the power 10 to the power e मतलब 10 to the power 10 to the power minus 324. That's a very small number that we have. Very small number that we have. So that's nearest to the smallest value. Anything smaller than this will be set to as 0. So 328 लेते हैं और वो ही दोबारा print कर लेते हैं. So let's take another value. It's a very small value. अब उसको और भी small करके कोशिश करते हैं. So in that case, it says 0. It's very near to be 0. You cannot have anything smaller than 5. 24 था ना 25 करके देखते हैं. वो 0 आ रहा है. So possible smallest value that we can store is this. वैसे largest value क्या store कर सकते हैं आप? The largest value you could store is 1.79 E308. That's the largest value. So here f हम display कर रहे थे, ये type display कर रहे थे. तो यहाँ मैं कहता हूँ how do I read this number? ये जो number मैं read कर रहा हूँ ये होगा 7.1.79 E304. इसका मतलब है 1.79 into 10 to the power 308 into 10 to the power 308. It's a very large number that we have. That's probably the largest number that we can have. It's the largest floating point value. Well, this is the smallest floating point value that we can have. So floating point value का domain जरूर है. What's the smallest and the largest value that we can really represent? अब अगर आपके स्ट्रिंग रिप्रेजेंटेशन में फ्लोटिंग पॉइंट वैल्यू आ जाता है उसको आपको इंटीजर फ्लोटिंग पॉइंट फॉर्मेट में कन्वर्ट करना है. So we had seen some conversion function like int. So likewise we have conversion function called as float also. It means if I ask you what's your height, okay, so I say height height is equal to, I will say now float instead of int, and I'll say input, and I give a prompt. What's your height? And I'm going to print this तरीके से. So I save this file, I run this file. What's your height? My height is 5.9 inches. That means 5 feet 9 inches. Not 5.9 inch. But anyway, it says 5.9 inches. But point is that decimal point can be represented. What's your weight? I could say 77.8 kg. The height your weight can be. So it is that what's your weight? I say my weight is suppose 77.6 kg. You weigh so and so, or your weight is 77.67 kg and so on. So we can accept floating point values. Okay, but this has been converted to float. That means input gave you string and string was converted to float. So that was some basics about working with some basic types is what we have seen. Any questions so far? No questions? So take some assignments. Please note some assignment. I have shared all the files with you all. Take some assignments for today and be ready with the solutions tomorrow. And tomorrow we'll cover up some advanced concepts, like we'll look into the complex numbers. We'll look into the decimal numbers. You're wondering what decimal numbers are. Then we'll look into the most interesting parts is like strings and other things we'll look into. Okay. So take an assignment for today. Now we know how to accept, we know how to carry out arithmetic operations. So we can write simple programs. So simple scripts is what you need to write. So take the assignment. And it will not be much difficult because you'll have to convert your algorithms into Python programs now. The algorithms into Python programs. Accept annual income of a customer, of a citizen. Accept annual income of a citizen. Annual income of a citizen. And display the total tax payable. And display the total income tax payable. And display the total income tax payable. Given income tax is 30% of the annual income. Income tax is 30% of annual income. It's 30% of annual income. Next question. Accept the height of a player in centimeters. Accept the height of a player in centimeters. No. Accept the height of a player in feet and inches. That means these many feet, these many inches, like 5.9. Yeah, 5 feet 9 inches. Accept the height of a player in feet and inches. Okay, how many feet and how many inches? Like feet and inches, 5.9, 6.1, and display the same in centimeters. And display the same in centimeters. And display the same in centimeters. Okay. So these are two simple questions that you have. एक और एक लो simple सा. Accept temperature in degree Celsius. Accept temperature in degree Celsius. And display the same in Fahrenheit. Accept temperature in degree Celsius. And display the same in Fahrenheit. Okay. All ready now? Can you all do this assignment? Yes or no? Reaction दो, कर पाएंगे या नहीं कर पाएंगे? राहुल, रोहित, डाउट है? Okay. Second question is more important. आप करोगे क्या? कर पाएंगे? आपके पास ability तो है, करो करके आओगे कि नहीं? That's more important for me. So you need to make a promise. चलो हाथ ऊपर करो, do you make a promise कि करके आएंगे आने के पहले? गलत हो सही हो लेकर आएंगे solution. Raise your hand. Promise होता है ना, हाथ ऊपर करो. तो कौन प्रॉमिस नहीं कर रहा है? राहुल नहीं कर रहा है प्रॉमिस, एंड रोहित नहीं प्रॉमिस कर रहा है. क्यों राहुल और रोहित, क्या इश्यू है? प्रॉमिस क्यों नहीं कर रहा है?
सर फाइनल प्रैक्टिकल हो जाए, यूनिवर्सिटी फाइनल प्रैक्टिकल हो जाए.
ओके. मोनिका एंड पीयूषा, क्या इश्यू है? क्यों नहीं प्रॉमिस कर रहा है? ओके. So I want all of you to solve this assignment. Simple assignments है, but such kind of small exercise है necessary. हम डायरेक्टली ताजमहल नहीं खड़ा करेंगे, पहले एक छोटा झोपड़ी बनाएंगे फिर ताजमहल पे जाएंगे. So we start small and then go ahead with complex problems. So on that note, we stop here today. See you tomorrow at same time, and we'll discuss the solutions as well. And I'll discuss the advanced concept when we meet tomorrow.
Sir,
Yes, please.
we have a
Sir,
question.
Pardon?
Sir, not related to Python.
Okay. Anything, Monica? You're saying something?
Sir, why C compile is written in C? That discussion is pending.
Okay. So let's take it next time. Now it's too late. 12, 22, 12, 12. Okay, 10, 12. Let's take it later. Okay, there are 2-3 questions that were there. Okay. और कुछ तो था क्वेश्चन, क्या बताया मैंने, और कोई क्वेश्चन बताया था?
Ask Kiko.
PY.
नहीं, वो तो एक ही था.
Just in time.
नहीं, no, I had not asked about just in time. Shantanu had asked, I had asked Shantanu to remind me.
Unicode.
Unicode देखा है, okay, और कुछ तो था. आज बराबर संतुल नहीं आया. We had asked me last session lecture के बाद. तो जब मैं कुछ बताता हूँ असाइनमेंट, आपको खुद होती कुछ बताना चाहिए ना, सर आपने ये बताया था उसका क्या हुआ. Okay, so that question still remains pending. Solve these assignments and come ready for tomorrow's session. Take care. Love you all. Bye bye.